Today we're going to learn how to make custom illustrations in Illustrator. So the first thing you're going to have to do is open up a new document. So go to File, go down to New, and then you're going to open up, mine looks a little different because it's the 2018 version, but basically you're going to open up a letter size document, which is 11 by 8.5, and you can open it in portrait or landscape. It does not matter. We just need one artboard. So once you click create, you will have a document, a letter size document. If you're unsure of the size, you can always turn on your rulers using Control R. And then your rulers will pop up on the top and the side. So by custom illustration, essentially what I'm meaning is that we're going to be creating an image using just shapes and the pen tool. And by creating that image, we are going to then have what is an illustration. So it's not going to look realistic like a photo. It is going to look like an illustration or a drawing, but it's going to be done in the computer through shapes. So I decided to pick something fairly simple. I'm going to do some flowers, primarily some daffodils. So my first thing I wanted to do was look up some images of real daffodils. So whatever you want. So I feel like this is a pretty good image of what a daffodil looks like, so I'm going to copy it. Now my illustration is not going to look identical to this because we don't want to copy it exactly. We want to put our own artistic interpretation. So I'm going to, oops, I'm in the pen tool. I'm going to paste the image, just doing Control V to paste it. I'm going to shrink it down because we don't need it that big. This is just my reference image. You can have it off to the side if you want, or you can have it on the artboard. It doesn't matter. If you feel like you need more space on your artboard, you can move it off into your work area. But essentially, this is just a reference image for us to kind of look at while we're drawing our own daffodil. So with this particular image, there's not going to be too many geometric shapes. Geometric shapes are your squares, rectangles, circles, triangles, things like this. Organic shapes are more free-form shapes. When we have our geometric shapes, you could use the rectangle tool, the triangle, the star, the circle tool, all of those. You can use those tools to make your geometric shapes. However, when something from nature, it's usually organic. So in order to make these organic shapes, we're going to have to use the pen tool. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create one of these petals. So I can kind of see that the petal goes to a point and then comes around. So I'm just going to kind of create my own daffodil petal. Now I just noticed that my outline and everything is turned off, so I'm gonna turn my fill on to a nice bright yellow, and I'm gonna just keep the outline off. So then using the direct selection tool, which is the white arrow, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to edit this. If you need to break apart the arms, remember to use your pen tool, the anchor point tool, or Shift C is the shortcut. Then I'm going to go back to my direct selection tool, which is the white or shortcut of A. And essentially I am going to draw my petal. So I'm just going to sit here and reshape it. Oops. Mainly because I really want this one petal to look pretty good, because I am simply going to copy this petal. I am not going to draw several petals. I'm literally just going to draw one. So I feel like it needs to go a little bit more towards a point and not so rounded here. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit like that. A little bit more pointed. So really this is about paying attention to the details of whatever you're drawing. Make it a little wider here at the bottom. Overall, not a bad daffodil petal. So if we look, daffodils have 6 petals. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key and I'm going to make 6 petals. All right, not bad. So in order to place these, I'm going to draw a circle. I'm going to change the circle to be a little bit orange so I can see it a little better. This is going to be the center of my flower. And then I'm going to start essentially adjusting and attaching these petals. Now I'm going to want my petals to be there we go, a little bit better spaced here. All right, so not so bad. Now normally in nature, daffodils or flower petals are not going to be identical in every aspect. So I can come in here and kind of alter up a couple of the petals just to give it to where there's some slight variations and some slight differences in the petals. So it kind of looks a little more realistic. Even though it's an illustration, we still want it to have this look and feel that it's real. Unless you're going for the absolute perfect, no flaw kind of look. Depends on what you're designing for. So I kind of just changed them up a little bit. So now they're not so perfect. Okay, this one looks a little funny. There we go, a little better. Okay, so now I have my petals. I do feel that this center needs to be a little bit smaller because we're going to be adding this circle on top. So I want to draw another circle. Where? Okay, if you don't have enough colors here, you can always go to your color palette, which is under Windows. Oops. So if you go to Windows and go to color, you'll be able to open up your color palette. So I want something a little bit more yellow-orange, but not too orange. So what I'm going to do with this guy, I have my circle, but if you notice, there's all of these little like ripples on the edge. So I'm going to go here to my pen tool. And what's really awesome about the pen tool is I can add anchor points to existing shapes. So I'm going to come around and you have to click right on the line. And I'm just going to add a bunch of anchor points. So every time I miss the line, this thing is going to show up. So it wants you to click right on the path. So now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Take your direct selection tool, which is your white arrow, And I'm going to start clicking on these guys, kind of moving them around a little bit. Doing my Shift C to break apart some of the arms. Go back to A, which is the direct selection tool. Remember to undo things. It is Control Z. Oops. Break apart some of these arms. So for time's sake, I'm just going to go through pretty much change all the, break apart all the arms on these. All right, I'm going to pause this so I can finish it up